Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I've recently finished. Today I really want to talk about the current generation of consoles and how they're really just disappointing me and letting me down. I think this is a consensus among gamers as a whole. We're not seeing a lot of next-gen exclusive games. Now this is good for the consumers that are only having the older hardware, for sure, games that are getting next generation, current generation, and the previous generation as well. It's good for them, and I'm happy for them getting a lot of these experiences that normally would be only next gen. It's a good thing for them, but it's bad for the people that adopted the current generation with the promises of utilizing this new hardware, because a lot of games are kind of hamstrung by the fact that they had to be made for the previous generation of consoles and still have feature parity. We're seeing a lot of this being hamstrung by the previous generation with like the PlayStation 4 and also with Xbox Series S console. You could see that have a problem with the Xbox getting Baldur's Gate 3. That was a big problem because they couldn't have feature parity on the Series S as well as the Series X. So it originally launched exclusively as a PlayStation 5 game, which makes sense because the PlayStation 5 doesn't have anything holding it back. Fortunately, they were able to figure it out and make it work on the Series S so more people can enjoy it. I'm really happy. I'm glad that was a big W for Xbox because I want everyone to experience Baldur's Gate 3. But the problem still stands that older hardware is going to be holding back this generation for the foreseeable future as well. If you look at Sony's catalog of games, they're third-person adventure games that you know the formula that they do. They have the protagonist and the third-person camera, and you go through like a small space or through a crevice in a wall, and it masks the loading screens. That was fine back on the PlayStation 4. We could forgive that. We could excuse that because we were working with the hardware. They're doing the best that they could. But now that we're on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, you would expect those things to go away. But again, because they're being made for both generations of hardware, you still get them. It doesn't matter if God of War Ragnarok has faster loading times when you do like fast travel and stuff, because you still have these sections that are not skippable. It doesn't make the game any faster. I still have to crouch through that little area here, or I have to crawl through that crevice in the wall. I have to slowly go up a mountain because it was made for the PlayStation 4 as well. It's hard-coded into the game. And it's really frustrating. It's frustrating to not have any use, really, of the SSD and the faster processing times of the PlayStation 5. Same on the Xbox Series X. Exclusives are just nowhere to be found. If you look at the launch, the PlayStation 5 had stuff like Demon's Souls Remake. You had Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart that came out shortly after. Phenomenal uses of next-gen hardware. Demon's Souls has like no loading times at all. They manufactured a little bit of loading time into when you die so that you're not immediately thrust back in, to give you like a second to catch your breath, which is great. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, beautiful. No loading times. You go straight from area to area. You have beautiful ray tracing. The graphics are gorgeous. The gameplay is smooth as silk. It absolutely screamed next generation. We haven't gotten a whole lot since then in the way of exclusives. We've got like the Dead Space remake as of late, and Resident Evil 4 remake to some extent. I know there's like a version on the PlayStation 4, but it does utilize the new hardware in a lot of ways, and it's not held back by the previous generation of consoles, fortunately. So we've got a couple remakes that make excellent use of the new hardware that work really well on the Series X and the PlayStation 5. Dead Space is an excellent example of just going from area to area. Everything is smooth and silky, everything, no loading times. You just have a phenomenal experience from start to finish. And that's what I want more of. But it seems like we're just not getting them. I can't tell if it's because of like layoffs across the industry and people just aren't motivated to make great games. I don't know if it's everyone chasing the live action trend and trying to get in on microtransactions and monopolizing people's time. It's probably a combination of a lot of things, those things included. But we're just not getting things that you really take advantage of the hardware. And as someone that got a PlayStation 5 day one, and I'm sure people that have gotten their Series X day one, it's really frustrating to see them not take advantage of the hardware and do great things with it. I want to see more, but the more I get into this console generation, the more I just kind of wish I didn't even adopt in the first place. I like what the PlayStation 5 is. I do like the faster loading times. I like downloading older games on the PlayStation 4 and porting them over to the PS5 console storage itself and having the load times get a lot shorter. I think that's great. But what I want to see is what we were promised with this generation. No loading times, really crisp 4K visuals. I want to see these big bombastic adventures that are not hung up by these little loading sequences that you have to go through in the previous generation of consoles. And we're just not really getting there. I'm really hopeful with like Summer Games Fest coming up that we're going to get some really killer announcements. But at the same time, I'm hearing rumors of like a PlayStation 5 Pro that have been floating around for a while. I don't understand why that's even a thing. Why are we even considering that? You're not making use of the PlayStation 5. Who is going to shell out for a PlayStation 5 Pro? Absolutely not me. There's no reason. There's absolutely no reason to get rid of my PlayStation 5 and upgrade to a PlayStation 5 Pro. None at all. I cannot think of any game that they could announce and say this is going to work beautifully on the PlayStation 5 Pro, but not as well on the PlayStation 5. I just don't believe they're going to do it. I think any new game that they announce exclusively for the PlayStation 5 will just be, it'll run just as well on that console. A PlayStation 5 Pro just doesn't sound appealing to me. I don't even know what they're going to be doing with that to make it way more dynamic. I know recently I saw some articles today about how the PlayStation 5 box that you get now is removing the 8K feature from it because they haven't made use of it at all. And again, this stems from the issue that they're just not making exclusive games for this generation of consoles. They're not even getting close to utilizing all the capabilities of 4K with the ray tracing and everything, all the cool dynamic features that were promised with the console. So they're scrapping 8K because they're not doing anything with it. Or the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to tout 8K. And it's not like anyone's buying an 8K TV so they can buy a PlayStation 5 Pro so they can be really excited about 8K. Again, we're not getting the use out of the current gen consoles. There's no reason for these Pro versions. I like Microsoft's stance. I've heard that they say, no, the Xbox Series X is our powerhouse console. We're not upgrading that one. The Xbox Series S is kind of like our baseline console, and the Xbox Series X is the premier version or our Pro version. Man, I really hate that naming convention. It's so frustrating. Talking about the Xbox One X versus the Series X is crazy. But that's another topic for another day. It's just really frustrating for me, and I've been thinking about this for the last few days, and to see Sony like quietly remove the 8K label and not give us a lot of features that were promised with this generation of consoles is really frustrating. I hope that like the Nintendo Switch 2 does anything in terms of hardware to make their experiences really smooth and fresh, but I don't expect them to even compete with the current generations of consoles, so I don't know what I'm really expecting performance-wise from them. Hopefully it's good, hopefully it's serviceable and does the trick, and hopefully loading times are pretty much eradicated. Hopefully they have the cartridge technology that works for that. I don't know. I'm just really frustrated with this generation of consoles. I don't care about Pro versions at this point. I got a PlayStation 4 Pro. I really liked what they did with that. But a PlayStation 5 Pro seems absolutely extraneous. There's no reason to get that. So I really want to see some announcements at Summer Game Fest. The Sony State of Play kind of sucked. I didn't see like really anything I'm super excited about aside from like the Astro bot game and the Silent Hill 2 remake. So I just want to see more games that utilize the hardware, man. That's all I really want to see. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.